Hey everyone. Thank you for tuning in to Within the Cauldron episode. And tonight we have a very special guest with us. He is one of our Cabot brothers, and also he's also a member of a band, a metal band, and my husband really wants to introduce him, so I let him do
this
that.
Is Jason Myers. He plays in a band called Icarus Witch. Rock, you are a bona fide superstar in my eyes. Yeah, you've got the rock and roll strings going there, definitely. For joining us tonight.
Thank you. My pleasure. Appreciate you guys having me on.
Oh, no problem. So I guess the first question is what we ask everybody.
Okay.
How did you start your path?
I started my path in the 80s. When I was a kid, I just was really drawn to nature. I was drawn to the mysteries, the macabre. I was drawn to, horror movies and different things that were just sort of on the darker edge, but also just the spirituality of nature. So I think when I found that there was a sort of a nexus, like a combination of things, that a religion, an old religion that incorporated nature, that was based around reverence for nature, but also had a lot of mystery and hidden occult allure to it. It just drew me in, and my curiosity took over at an early age. So, of course, back in the 80s, it was a little harder to find information. You had to really go out of your way, go down and raid the local bookstores and go to the library. This was all pre-internet, of course. So, and then there would be times where I would, a little bit later on, like in the early 90s, go to New Age bookstores and go to the bulletin board section and find meetups or people that were putting on gatherings and things of that nature to just sort of create that network. But yeah, I think it was just a combination of nature and music and the unknown. It just appealed to me far more than any of the other traditional religions that I had known about or that I was brought up learning about.
Yeah, I can't relate to all that.
I definitely can.
Yeah.
I was raised Catholic, and I used to skip church and go out and hang out in the woods all the time. I loved it out in the woods.
Yeah.
That's our church.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely is.
That's how I always felt. I just felt more spiritual and more connected to universal energies when I was sitting under a tree and communing with deer and cows and insects, and it just, that to me felt like I was part of that versus sitting in a temple listening to old stories that people made up.
Yeah. So how did you meet Lori Cabot?
Well, the first time I met Lori was it was at like a book signing back in the early 90s. I was my first trip to Salem, and it was for Power of the Witch, I believe. And she still had an active store at that time that she was at. And I remember there was a book signing, and I wanted the book and had her sign it. And so that was just sort of my initial brush with greatness, if you will. And when I got back home, I just absorbed the book and then looked for more of her reading, her books to read. And then fast forward several decades to more recent times. It was during the pandemic lockdown, actually, when I lived in Salem for a while. So I used to go and hang out at Enchanted and go to the events, like the public events. This was before I became a Cabot myself. And then I moved away from Salem and moved back to Pittsburgh. And during the pandemic, they started doing the classes online. Before you used to have to go there in person, once they started doing it online, and I was like everybody else, I was home looking for things to do, and I was at a point in my spirituality where I really felt I wanted to commit more. I wanted to take more classes and be held accountable and learn more. And there's a lot to be said for being eclectic or being solitaire, but I was looking during the pandemic. I was looking for community. I was looking for connection, and the fact that now Lori was offering these courses, no matter where you were in the world, I saw my chance there, and I didn't want to pass up that chance, and so I signed up for the Witchcraft 1 class, and I wasn't really sure what to expect, and I just loved it. It was amazing. Everybody I met that was already a Cabot was amazing, and it felt like home. So I immediately after that enrolled for Witchcraft 2, and then after that I became more involved in the temple and started writing for the newsletter, and started helping out when other students were coming up and they needed people to help on those classes. And when I would go to the gatherings in person in Salem, I would help and volunteer, and just wanted to become a closer part of the temple. And so I guess it was for me, it was a silver lining of the pandemic lockdown, was being able to connect with people all over the world that were sort of having that same desire, that same moment of wanting connection and wanting to raise their spirituality. So technology has good parts about it too.
Yeah, when we first met Lori was back in the 90s. We went to her store, and we took the kids with us as family vacation and everything.
Awesome.
Then in 2012, well, we did Pagan Pride. We started doing Pagan Pride here in Iowa in 2009.
Cool.
And I always go outside the box, I was like, how can I make this better? Well, let's, spend some money and ask people to come, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And Lori doesn't travel that much, as you know. Yeah. So she sent out 2 Candy Cabot, and I don't know if you know Robin Matoller. They came out and just captured the community. Mm-hmm. And then we decided, we should go there for another vacation, and we did. And we started talking about it. We're like, yeah, we're going to take the Witchcraft 1, and Iowa, Massachusetts is pretty far. Yeah, so, sure. And with 4 kids and everything, well, I was teenagers by then. Mm-hmm. I think Chris asked Lori to start doing it online, mm-hmm. so people can start learning online as well.
No, this is what I said to her years ago, was we cannot let our ways go away. Yeah. We need to reach out. We need to spread out our wings, mm-hmm. and teach. And next thing I know, she's doing these online classes, and I'm like, yeah. I might have contributed, I might not, but you know what? It was phenomenal to see people reach out and actually learn.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah. She's an amazing lady. But anyway, we would go on. We can talk all day about Lori.
Well, it was a great moment of growth for the tradition.
Oh, yeah.
Because if you're just sort of relegated to the folks that are able to be there in person for 2 weeks at a time or what have you, you're going to have a very small pool to draw from. And there's a lot to be said for the dedication that goes into that. I have total respect for the folks that came along and did that. But I love also now how it just went global. We will be in these online classes, and there's people in Argentina, people in Europe, and it's really cool how it spread like that.
Oh yeah, and Alexander, he's doing great with Spain, Argentina, Brazil, everywhere.
I couldn't imagine the traveling that he does just to get to these places. It's mind-boggling.
Yeah, he's awesome. I love Alexander, and his recent hand fasting nuptials at Stonehenge, that was like breathtaking.
Oh yeah, it was breathtaking. I couldn't believe it. Some of the Cabots lend their voices to your last album. How did that go? Did you choose which ones you wanted, or did they volunteer?
I actually reached out to pretty much all of the Cabots within the group, within the online group, Facebook and whatnot.
The Cabot Witches.
Yeah. So I just sort of put the call out and said, hey, this is something I have going on, and it would be, if anybody feels called to do it, I'll walk you through it. It's real simple, and we'd love to have your contribution to it. And fortunately, several people took me up on it and joined in, and not just Cabots. There was a lot of other like witches that I knew, witches that were in bands that I knew, just other people that I knew from around the world. So everybody kind of got really excited about it. It was like a small but dedicated group, and I just gave everybody sort of the latitude to vocalize how they felt. We were all, for those that don't know what I'm talking about, it's a song on our last album called Rise of the Witches, where we had everybody sing the chorus. When people didn't feel confident in their singing voice, but they wanted to contribute, so I said, okay, we'll just whisper it or talk it, spoken word, just use this cadence if everybody has the same words, and then we'll just blend it together, and we'll create this one like strong voice, unified voice that goes with the theme of the song. And I got chills when I heard everybody's voices together, because I was sitting here, listening to people sending, contributions, or, some people did it in person, some people did it online, but I was there for the mixing part of it and listening to it all come together. And still to this day, when I get to that part of the song, I get really energized.
It makes it very magical. I mean, I guess, hopefully to everybody, I think to us Cabots, it makes it really special knowing that we have a family who would support each other on this and everything. And it's just, the whole album actually is magical.
Thank you.
I like listening to it before I do magical work. Rise of the Witches, brother. That's like, I no pun into this badly, but it's like going to church.
Yeah.
So,
cool to hear.
It lifts up spirits that much.
Oh, thanks, Chris. That's awesome.
Yeah, we actually use that when we walk into the circle once. I think I told you about that. We walk in the circle. It's just, you walk in and this music is playing, and it just builds up the energy.
So cool.
So, I mean, it's really great. And then once the song is over, you just sit there, you swing and everything. You look at each other, and you just, have the biggest grin on your face, and you just want to say, I love you to everybody. It's just, I don't know, it's just something about that song that makes it energize when you go into a circle.
So great.
I like all of the music, all of your guys' music. It's plug and play. It's a more modern Witches view of what they musically played back in the day. It really speaks to.
Thank you guys for sharing that. That makes me feel really good, because that was the whole purpose of it, was to bring witches specifically together and give us a common voice and unite us. There's a lot of division, and even within our community. So I'm like, okay, there's enough things trying to divide the world and to divide humankind. Let's not let it divide witches.
Exactly.
We're already a small enough niche in the grand scheme of things. Let's stick together and fight back against some of this oppression, because if we don't stick together, I mean, there's a lot of folks out there that would love to put us down and to just extinguish us again and silence us. So we need to have each other's back. That's how that was my motivation for it. Was
the way I look at it as right now, for a lot of us, it's all about reclamation.
Yeah.
Digging out what works, what doesn't work magically. We're still in the infant stages, of returning back to power, which is really nice. I see a bright, beautiful future for us. Seriously, But you participated in a New York Comic Con, Witches After Dark.
Yeah.
How did that come about, and how did it go?
I was invited by Judy Ann, the author who put together that panel. I first kind of got to interact with her through WitchCon. She was presenting at WitchCon, not this past one, but the previous year, and I was in one of her classes that she was teaching on crystals, and I was a fan of her writing and a fan of her as a witch, and she got all excited that I was in the class, and I was like, I didn't expect her to even know who I was or who the band was or anything, but because she's a musician, I think she resonated with that as well. So she contacted me and said, well, I got this idea. I want to present to Comic-Con in New York City, and give actual witches a voice at this larger panel, this platform. Would you be interested? And I was like, I didn't even hesitate. I was like, oh, hell yes. Count me in. Whatever you need from me, I'll do it. I'll be there. And she pitched it, and they accepted right away. And it all just happened like that. We were just, she put a lot of work into putting that together, so I don't want to diminish that. But the way it all came together, it felt like magic too. So yeah, I flew out to New York City last October, and it was just witches in the city, hung out down in Times Square and just cruised around. And at the Comic-Con itself, we got up there and had just answered Q&A from the crowd. There were some people in the crowd that were into witchcraft. There was just a lot of people that were curious about it. People, like these conventions, there's folks that come from all walks of life. So
yeah,
most definitely. Oh yeah. Now I know you have done poetry. Have you ever thought about doing a book on your poetry, or even your life experience on, being a, musician and in a band and being a witch and everything? Have you ever thought about doing a book?
Yeah. I've never really thought about doing a poetry book, I guess, because I have the benefit of being able to just set my poetry to music. So I feel like every album is sort of like a mini poetry book with music and lyrics. I love writing lyrics. That's probably my favorite part of being in the band. But in terms of writing a book about life experiences and things like that, I have thought about it, and I've been journaling for years, and so I've got a lot of stories. And the older you get, the more you forget. So I'm like, well, I should probably write some of this down in a little more detail before the memories get foggier. Because not as it is now, I'll have people come up and tell me stories that I'm involved in, and I have no recollection of. I'm like, okay, I believe you. I'm glad we had a good time, but I don't even remember that. But the main thing I want to do with a book, before I would get into any kind of biographical type thing, is I've been sort of working on a book about vegan witchcraft, specifically because
Awesome.
I've been a vegetarian since more or less since the beginning of my path, shortly after anyway, since the early 90s, and I've been a vegan since the mid 90s. And those two paths have intersected for me. And I think the plant-based lifestyle and harm none just logically go together. So I want to encourage that, or folks that there's never been a lot of information out there about it. There's a few blogs here or there, but whenever I've tried to find information about how those paths intersect, I've come up short. So I'm like, okay, well, maybe there's other people out there like me that are looking for that, or maybe there's people that are vegan and are curious about witchcraft, or witches and are curious about veganism.
Yeah.
So I could sort of fill that gap. So I've been working on that for a long time. I peck away at it, a little bit at a time. And I've actually networked with other vegan witches through social media a lot, and through me reaching out. And so I've got this little like super niche network of authors that are also vegans and witches or pagans. And we get together once in a while. We'll talk to each other online and encourage each other, send each other drafts and things like that. So that's sort of my like long-term passion project. I'm the world's slowest writer when it comes to that. Like I just contribute once in a while because I'm always more busy with the band and with life and with work and but that, to me, that would be like something that I keep trying to push it up on the bucket list, like get this out there before you before you're gone. It might be a nice little something to leave behind that might help some other people out, or at least help some animals out.
I know we've been trying to write a book for years about coven life, coven versus solitary, the community, how some community can be good, bad, and
what
jealousy.
it's actually like to work with the community and other witches.
Yeah.
It's going to be a book of tell all, good all, our bad, their bad, to let people know when you step to the public and you're working, with witches and pagans, and it doesn't always go the way you want. But then when the goddess comes in full force, that when she needs to be, it's like you feel the magic flowing and everything's all good. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's cool. I would love to read that. I know I have friends that run covens, and I feel their pain. I know that it's not easy. Anytime you try to organize people for anything, it's tough, let alone people. I mean, witches by nature are generally very independent, very creative, very opinionated. It's herding cats, right? Like, so.
Yeah. Witches are like herding cats, definitely.
Much respect for anybody that can keep that going. It's tough to.
It can drive you. It can drive you insane sometimes.
Yeah.
So, can you tell me a little bit about Litter Wizards?
Yeah, Litter Wizards is it's a name that I gave to a project that is near and dear to me, which is basically just picking up other people's trash when I'm out in parks and in nature. So how this came about was, again, for me, spirituality and nature, and I feel like as witches and as pagans, we're the stewards of this planet. We're put here to protect the planet, and that's how I view it. And so anytime, and I love going hiking, I love going out in nature. I try to do it a little bit every day. And when I'm out there and I see trash, I'm like, that does not belong here. But I can't get mad at it. That doesn't do me any good to say, oh, people are terrible or this or that. So I just wanted to take a more proactive approach. So what I would do is every time I was hiking, if I was like going on a loop, I would take one loop around and like always bring a bag with me and pick up the litter, go dispose of it or whatever, and then take another loop and just enjoy the fact that now it was like a trash-free nature space. So that was just sort of like to me, that's an act of religion. That's an act of spirituality, is like protecting and caring for the planet so that this garbage doesn't end up, hurting animals or choking out plants or any of that kind of stuff. So Litter Wizards was just a way for me to sort of give it. It started as like a Facebook group and like a hashtag, and just getting my friends kind of involved in it that weren't necessarily out. Like some of my friends around here in Pittsburgh will come out and do these events with me and stuff. But I wanted to sort of inspire or get people in other places to think about it. And to me, that's a really cool way of sharing spirituality. Like I have witch friends in New England, witch friends in Europe that will post pictures or send me maybe private messages like, look what I found on the trail or whatever. And I just sort of like ramped up from there. And then I wanted to scale up further than what I was able to do. So I hooked up with a local organization called Allegheny Cleanways. And now I just volunteer with them because they've got the machinery, they've got a dump truck, they've got like contracts with all these local towns to process the trash. So we'll go out, like I did one last week where we went out into the woods, like a sacred stream that I'll go to meditate and have like little rituals and stuff. So the group, the Allegheny Cleanways, has nothing to do with litter wizards. It has nothing to do with paganism. It's just me donating my time and my resources and to help out the greater cause. But by doing that, I'm able to participate and just do more good, like get more crap out of the woods. We get tons, literal tons of tires out of the streams. These are like places where fish are trying to spawn, and this is places where like geese are going to have the fish, and you just see just garbage floating around and choking them out. I saw a dead fish last week. It broke my heart. That didn't have to be that way. So that's what Litter Wizards is. That's a way for me to sort of like put my money where my mouth is, get my time out there, volunteer, show some stewardship for the planet, and hopefully in the process bring some more people into that way of thinking, so that as pagans we're out there walking the walk and taking care of our planet and taking care of Mother Earth.
Well, if we live closer, we be on that team, cleaning everything out.
I think it's an obligation, because when we did Pagan Pride, or we went out and invited the community with us to go out and do a ritual, to ask them, we spent the night, hey, pick up the place, leave it better than what it was. And you always got that one person, but what if it's not my trash? And I look and I go, the goddess will smile on you more if you pick up that piece of trash. It's not yours. So, it makes sense.
It's our planet. It doesn't matter who left it there. If everybody said, "Oh, it's not my trash, not my problem," nothing would ever get clean. Nothing would ever get fixed.
That is correct. Yeah, I mean, we got to take care of Gaia as much as we can, because she trusts us to do it and everything.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, we always have the kids do that too.
That's great.
Clean up and even go to cemeteries, and we have our kids clean off the tombstones for some people.
That's beautiful.
Of course we do too. We don't make sure the kids, you do that, we sit here. We do with them and everything. But yeah, it's really important when you have kids to really instill in their minds about Mother Nature and about doing your part. So yes, blessed to be on that. I mean, yes, that's
very
great.
important.
Very. You donated your athame and also other items to the Buckland Museum.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a reason why you did that? Because she has some stuff like Aleister Crowley, Super League, Laurie Cabot. I mean, for you to donate to the museum is I think it's awesome. It's great. I don't know if I would. I'd probably be too selfish. Mine. I'm keeping it.
Well, I mean, they asked me, and what am I going to say? That's such an honor to even be asked because of the aforementioned company. I felt very, very blessed to even be considered for that. And I'm a fan of the museum first and foremost. I'm a patron. I'm a card-carrying member. Anybody that has a chance to go to Cleveland for any reason, even if that is the reason, it's a great way to experience a lot of witchcraft history. As you mentioned, there's literally artifacts from Crowley. There's stuff from Gerald Gardner. There's obviously things from Buckland. His robe, his jewelry, his helmet. Athames from all these, different witches and wands and a staff from Oberon, and like it's just so cool to be in there with all these great tools. And Stephen, the curator, and Tony and Kat, two of the owners and proprietors of the place, I became friends with them actually through the Cabot connection. They took their coven took a field trip from Ohio to Salem, and they were sitting at the table next to me, and they were asking me like what's there to do in Salem ahead of time and stuff. So I was like, oh, here, check this out, do this. And then when they got there, we started talking and stuff and kind of became friends. And they knew that I was a fan of the museum and I always would promote it anyway. So when they asked me, yeah, I mean, there was a little bit of that, like, oh, like this particular athame was one that I had handcrafted and like actually like forged the metal that went into the blade, and sourced the bone from the woods, and it literally had my blood, sweat, and tears in this. But geez, like what better way to to share with the community than to like just be like, here, it's on display. So I'm so honored. And so
wow, that's cool.
I would be too.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Do you ever think that your band will do a straight pagan album?
Straight pagan album?
Yeah.
As opposed to like a crooked pagan album?
Well, I think
more or less kind of like take some chants that is out there and make it into a beat.
More old-timey kind of
traditional.
Yeah,
more traditional.
You never know. I mean, this 2025 marks the 20th year since our first release. So we've been doing this for a couple decades, and I'm always looking for ways to stay inspired myself and to keep evolving. And I'm not the kind that likes to just recreate the same music over and over. So it definitely that would appeal to me, something like that. Maybe as a side project. I don't know if that would be the best fit for Icarus Witch, but I do like that idea. I might look into that a little bit more. We haven't done cover songs in a while. We've always just in the beginning we used to include like one or two cover songs on a lot of the albums, and then we just sort of got away from that. But it would be kind of cool to maybe modernize a traditional pagan song and bring it into like.
Well, that's how I feel about your music that you're creating right now. Because as old as I am, I'm 63, and I really relate to your guys' music. It's modern, but yet it has that how can I say it? Early metal. It has that grit and that. Oh yeah, this really kicks butt. It definitely does.
Thank you. Yeah, those are the two things I love. Two things I'm passionate about: classic metal and classic witchcraft. So
yeah.
Well, I think one of my I can't say one of my favorite. The whole album is just like amazing.
Thank you.
Strangers Than Angels, so that just, I don't know, as above, so below, it's just, I love it. It's just, I listen to that one, and of course, Wives of the Witches, Shadow Chaser. I listen to those quite often. It's on my playlist every morning.
Oh, wow.
Doing housework, Yeah. My little grandson is there just bopping around and everything.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, and he's trying to sing the lyrics, and he doesn't quite get it. He's only 2.5, so he doesn't really.
He likes the beat.
He likes the beat. Yeah.
I would love to hear his version.
I don't know. Maybe he can be in the next album then. Okay.
There you go.
So, I know you're probably coming off on downtime, because I know everybody takes like a winter downtime to like do some new songs or just kind of de-stress and everything before they get into their busy time and all. Do you have any new projects coming up?
Yeah. Well, like I mentioned, this is like the 20th anniversary of our EP and our LP, our first debut LP. So I just got back from Los Angeles where I met with our record label, and they would like to do sort of like a vinyl reissue, to commemorate the 20-year anniversary. So that's one of the things that I'm working on behind the scenes is like just putting together a vinyl package, because those records actually have not been released on vinyl before. So that would be a first, because 20 years ago, vinyl wasn't as big as it is now, which is weird. It was sort of in that in-between phase. It was like everybody wanted CDs or digital downloads. Now it's like the vinyl outsells the CDs for us. So that's one little project that I'm working on, is trying to like come up with something to make it a little more special, like some unreleased material. Over the years we've done a lot of songs that some of which never made it onto a record, or maybe they were just like on the B-side for a Japanese release or something. So I would like to kind of collect some of those rarities and B-sides and maybe put some of that stuff out later in the year. And Quinn and I have been like just trading riffs back and forth and trying to come up with sort of the direction of where the new stuff's going to go. We usually let the music guide us to where it's going to go. So we're in that phase now where each of us have a few songs and we're just sort of sharing them. Okay, well, what do you got? Okay, cool. That's awesome. Here, let me put something to that. What do you got here? So I love that phase of it. I love the creation phase where you play off of each other. And again, he and I have been doing this so long as writing partners that we have like a really a good ESP between us, where each of us will hear the other's part and know where to take it. And that's what becomes the magic of Icarus Witch. So we're writing new stuff and we're paying homage to old stuff, and but all at our pace. As the band's progressed, we've kind of slowed down our pace a little bit. Like if you look back in the early days, it was like 2 albums a year, then 1 album a year, then 1 album every 2 years, and then 1 album every 4 years. Now it's sort of like everybody's got so many irons in the fire and different things going on in life that it takes a little time flies by too. Like we'll say like No Devil Lived On, that's our new album, and then I'm like, wait, that came out in 2023. That's not even that new anymore. That's 2 years old already. So by the time we get a new one out, it might be 5 years between albums, just like that.
Oh yeah, time does fly. It does for me.
It totally does. And
the older you get, the quicker it goes too.
Yeah, true.
Live your life, man. Live your life.
Yeah,
well, I know that Andrew. I mean, Andrew is so busy. I mean, he has this band, and he has what Iron Flame, and
Brimstone Coven, the Chachwin. He doesn't. Yeah, and
he has a body shop, body piercing, a tattoo shop.
Yep.
I mean,
Hot Rod, and he also runs a small recording studio in Ohio. So he's sometimes recording other bands as well, doing guest vocals. He's an enigma. The dude is like nonstop energy, just keeps going, like the Energizer Bunny of traditional metal. And then there's me. I'm on the other end of the spectrum. I only have this, so like a lot of times I'm waiting around for everybody else to work on their projects, and that sometimes adds time to things too. But that's okay. I've got other stuff in my life that I fill in while I'm waiting for that, like writing, like witchcraft, like just all kinds of things. So I don't get too upset about it. I know that everybody's got a lot of things going on, and I respect that.
Yeah.
So how long have you been playing bass?
Oh God. Again, over 3 decades. Probably. I'm trying to think of how old I am. I still feel like I'm 18 or something, but that's many decades since then. I started when I was 13. That's when I first started. I got my first bass, started playing. This year, I'm going to be 53. So 13. I'm not real good at math, but that's what, 4 decades? 13.
Yeah, you can
Yeah.
say that.
Yeah. I started playing guitar when I was like 10 years old, something like that.
Cool.
8. Started playing cornet, trumpet when I was like 5. I played for many, many years and I loved it. Nuns taught me actually how to play the guitar.
Oh, wow. That's
Yeah,
real bad.
back in the Catholic school days, you
Yeah.
know. But the nuns were really cool about it because they'd have all those kids get our guitars out. We would start playing. And they had us playing like Smoke on the Water,
Oh, that's
you know,
badass.
Stairway to Heaven, you know, a little bit of Beatles, stuff like
That's
that.
so cool.
It was fun, you know.
I've never heard that before. That's really cool. Props to your nuns.
Yeah, I miss them.
Yeah, because let's see, did you play? I think I read it or heard it that you played with Dio and Black Sabbath one time.
Mhm.
How was that experience? Because I mean,
my
like to us, Dio was like, oh yeah. I mean,
Long time
and
fan, definitely
yeah,
long time
Black
fan.
Sabbath
Yeah.
and everything. I mean, I know you probably liked Dio and Black Sabbath back then
Oh, yeah.
too. So how was it like for you? Like, oh my gosh, I'm playing with
Yeah.
Dio and Black
Pretty
Sabbath.
much. Yeah.
Pretty
Um,
much.
So interesting story about that. When our first album came out, we were looking for management, and I had done a radio interview at KNAC in Los Angeles back when they still had like a physical studio that you would go in and do the interviews and stuff. And there's a DJ, Diana DeVille, who's a metalhead, and she took a liking to our band, and turned out she was also a witch. And so she was really drawn to the fact that we were metal and we were witches, you know, or I was writing about witchcraft or whatever, you know. So she and I became friends because of that. And it just so happened that in addition to being a DJ, her job was working for Ronnie Dio's management. And I'm like, okay, that doesn't suck, you know, because I grew up idolizing Dio, had posters of him and Sabbath on my wall. And actually the first song that Icarus Witch ever did was a cover of Falling Off the Edge of the World on a Black Sabbath tribute record. So there was like a lot of tie-ins where that was sort of what we were patterning Icarus Witch after, was that Dio era Sabbath. So she wanted, in addition to working with Ronnie Dio's management, with Wendy Dio, she wanted to start her own management on the side called Golden Tower, and we were her first signing as a band. And since she had that connection, obviously, she was able to sort of pull us into certain opportunities that we might not have otherwise been privy to. Like we got flown out to Los Angeles for the NAMM convention, and we got endorsement deals with like Seymour Duncan and Dean Markley Strings and Fender Guitars, and all these connections that she had from Dio and from the other bands that their management company worked with. Now all of a sudden they were paying attention to us, which, you know, was awesome. And then there was, on that Sabbath tour, you know, the Heaven and Hell tour that they did, in certain markets they were bringing up like regional bands to do an opening slot. And because we were in that position, you know, of Diana managing us, she said, would you guys like to, they're not doing Pittsburgh on this round, would you guys like to open for them in Cleveland? And I was like, hell yes, of course. And
I bet.
Yeah, and we were actually in this weird in-between phase with members. Like we didn't even, like we were between guitar players and like weren't sure who was going to play drums, but I wasn't going to let that stop me. I'm like, we will be there. And that became the motivation to like get the band back together, firing on all cylinders and quickly. And And, like it was like at the time, Quinn was thinking about, he was going to mortuary school when I pulled him into Icarus Witch, and he was like, I think I need to go back to school and get my degree and stuff. And I was like, okay, that's cool. But then when the Sabbath thing came up, he was like, I'm in, let's do it, So, and then we never looked back, And so I got to credit Sabbath with being the first, Dio Sabbath with being the first thing that we ever did as a band to sort of get us on that track, and then also reinvigorating us a few years into it and giving us like the biggest stage we ever played on. And the band themselves were just so cool. Like the band members, like we had access to their hospitality. Geezer Butler, my idol as a bass player, is also a vegan. So they had like vegan lasagna, and like, I was worried that it was going to be like, oh, you opening band, stay out of here. But we had access to all their food and like sound check. And I was like, man, this is a dream gig, chance of a lifetime. So that is one of my all-time favorite shows that Icarus Witch has ever played, for sure.
Oh, wow.
I couldn't imagine the energy that he was feeling on stage when he was playing in front of all those people.
It was,
getting them all hyped up.
Yeah. And just hearing, that was the first time I ever heard my bass at that volume too, because we were playing clubs, maybe small theaters, and then this is like an outdoor stage on the river in Cleveland, and you hit the bass, and it's like like all throughout the city. I was like, oh yeah, I'm used to this.
Oh wow!
So I know you're going to start touring again. At least she was thinking about talking about it. Because I think you said something about where would you like us to come to?
Mm-hmm.
Well, what I'm going to say next. Come to Iowa.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of people here that jams out, especially us. We need a good concert now and then, and haven't been to one. We've been to, there's a lot of 80s that's coming back, of course, like Poison and even Def Leppard and stuff, but which is great bands, but we need the hardcore, we need the headbanging and everything. So, just to whisper in your ear, Iowa is a good place.
Yeah.
So,
That's one of the few places we haven't played. Actually, we've driven through there on tour, but I don't think we've had a gig there. Beautiful state. I loved going through there. I was surprised. I didn't really know too much about how it looked, and I remember driving through and just being really amazed at the beauty of the nature. And
a lot of forests. There's a lot of forests, which is good because that's where we hang out.
In the northern part of Iowa, there's a lot of forests, but the southern part of Iowa, there's lots and lots of farmland.
Yeah.
Sure.
Lots.
Yeah.
It's really cool when it's all green.
Yeah.
We live in a farm town of 800 population. So,
wow.
It gets kind of boring here, but we got the music, we got the podcast, got the kids, grandkids, got each other. So we don't drive each other's crazy.
Yeah. We went from Colorado Springs, Colorado to here just because family.
Big change. Big change. And I love small towns, small farm towns too. Like my family is from northern Ohio, like Fremont, Toledo, suburbs, and not even suburbs. It's like, there's Toledo and then you're in the country, you're in the farmland. So like my family moved pretty early on, so I wasn't raised there, but we always went back for holidays and family reunions and things like that. So I'm very familiar with the 800 person towns where you're like one stoplight, one couple stores and you drive through and then you're out of the town, like some really, there's something to be said for that too. There's something to be said for that too.
I don't mind it. I just miss the sirens, things going on around you, quick access to whatever you need, Best Buy. I miss Best Buy. Being able to just ride right up and go, here we are. Half hour, 20-minute ride, you wherever you want.
Yeah.
Now, didn't you do a workshop on something last year, I think, for maybe for some kind of a convention or something.
Besides the Comic-Con?
Maybe that's what I was thinking about. I was thinking he was doing a workshop on something else. Have you ever thought about doing any kind of workshops like for Christian Day, Hex Fest, or anything like that, or Starwood?
Yeah, no, I would love to. I actually submitted an idea for that, and it turned out that somebody else had submitted basically the same idea and beat me to the punch. I have a tendency to procrastinate. So, but then when I found out like that somebody was already presenting, my idea was like music, how it ties in pop culture and ties in with witchcraft and the occult and stuff like that. So I was happy that somebody else already had that. And then it was right around that time when Judy Ann contacted me about doing Comic-Con too. So I was like, okay, well, that worked out, very cool, because now I can go to New York City as well. So I do like teaching. I do like that aspect of sharing and just, I don't know. I come from a family of teachers. My father was a teacher, and like I feel like that's in my genes to be able to like create a syllabus, and I do it through work and stuff as well. I'm always like trying to teach courses and things like that in various aspects of whatever it is, marketing and things like that. So I would love to get more into that, more involved when time permits, if the schedules and the stars align, for sure. Yeah.
Can you imagine a band coming to a class that you're presenting and not realizing who you are, giving the class and watching them flip their goats? You know what I'm saying? Can you imagine that? That would be wild.
That would be funny.
Teaching is fun. Don't, you should do it. Don't give up on that. You should do it, because teaching a coven for so many years and then doing the community events for 27 years, I just love it. I love learning every day about something.
I like the challenge because, there's some things that we're oath bound to, and I like trying to find what would you say? I like to go around the circle and kind of drop little golden nuggets to people so that they can find their way without exactly telling them, hey, this is what you should actually be feeling. This is what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
And just kind of find out a way where you can give them that, hey, I got it. Yeah. I love seeing people light up on that.
Yeah.
It's important to do that.
Yeah, I think that's the best part, is somebody coming up to you and say, oh, thank you. I learned something. I was wondering about it and stuff. And everybody's always afraid to ask at times. So when you do something on something that I want to ask, it's like, oh yeah, that's how you do it, or something. It's really nice. So don't give up on that. And
I don't plan to. Like I said, it just depends on timing and things like that. But like you said, I agree with the fact that you learn so much as a teacher. I never learn as much as I do when I'm teaching, because I feel obligated now. Like, I got to know this, whatever the subject is, I got to know it inside and out, so I don't have imposter syndrome, so I can be an authority on this, especially if somebody's paying you, for a course or something. Like, I feel very obligated to do a lot of research and present things in a way that connects with them. Like, like you said, Chris, where the people just sort of light up and I get it now. I teach, like I loved learning about tarot from Lori. And now I don't know if I want to teach it necessarily, but I want to do it more out there. I've always just sort of done it for friends or whatever, but I'm now getting to the point. It's been a year since I got certified in tarot, so I'm like, it's probably time for me to hang a shingle and like just do it. Just do it semi-professionally as something a little extra on the side, and just for the fun of it. Because I've always got a deck in my hand. I'm just always always drawing and pulling for other people and stuff. So again, I don't know that I would teach it, but I think that's something that I would like to to take my education on and help other people with it.
Yeah.
That's what I like about the Cabot tradition. They, how can I say it? They're real. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like for years and years, you know, after Desert Chill, Desert Storm, you know, I had a really rough way to go mentally. But it seemed like after I learned from the Cabots, went through the first class, that it brought peace. You know, it's actually using something that actually brought peace.
Yeah.
I was feeling the magic before, you know.
Yeah.
It seemed like it gave me a way to wash it all away. You know, it gave me that mellow sense where I was balanced.
Yeah.
Not me saying I am balanced. It made me balanced.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, because you think you might know it all from, you know, some people says, oh, I know it all. I don't need these classes, you know. But, you know, trust me, well, you know, but the audience out there, you know, trust me when I say that, no, you don't know it all. And learning something every day, learning from a different tradition, it just brings everything into a complete cycle and everything, complete circle and everything. So it's really good.
Yeah, it definitely helped me out because it added to the tradition that I was already following. You know, it gave me that completeness that I needed at that time and that moment. And it made me more energy-wise. I'm not going to say power because that would be arrogant, but I could feel the magic more.
Yeah.
You know, the vibrational rate of myself raised up tremendously.
Sure.
So, you know, it gave me a great gift. And that was a great gift that they shared.
Yeah.
So when you were on the road with the band, do you ever encounter other witches or pagans and other bands?
Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah.
So you sit there and talk, you know, not just music, but about magic?
It does happen occasionally, yeah. And a lot of them I know ahead of time because we're sort of in a small niche anyway. But and even locally here, there's some folks that have that combination. There's a band from Pittsburgh called Lady Beast. I don't know if you've heard of them before, but another traditional metal band. And Deb, the singer, I saw her just this week. Actually, it wasn't even a music thing. We were both at a lecture. There's a book called The Witch of the Monongahela. There's a local Pittsburgh author that writes about folklore of Pennsylvania and things like that. And he was doing a lecture, and I was getting ready to leave, and I was like, oh, of course, there's Deb, you know. So, and her band Lady Beast had played with us when we did our album release show, and now her band's about to do a release, and she teaches and talks about witchcraft publicly as well. So that's just one example of somebody that I've become friends with on multiple levels, where we'll be just as likely to talk about like her fire cider recipe or something as we will, you know, the albums that we're working on. So that's kind of cool. I love it when there's other people where those worlds collide, you know.
Yeah, it is nice. I always want to do a podcast about nothing but just musicians who is also magical too as well, you know, because I think it'd be good for everybody to be out there who is playing the bass or guitar or drums and feel like that they cannot be out of the closet with their spirituality, but still want to be in the public eye too, want to hide it. And you know, it's great, like you don't hide it. You know, a few people don't hide it, which is really awesome, because we should not hide our spirituality at all. We should embrace it.
We should be truthful, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I respect everybody's decision on that. Some people are not in a position to do that for work or safety.
Oh yeah.
For me, I got to a point where I was just like, this is who I am. This is what I believe in. And it was my way of like pushing back against, you know, against the opposition against tyranny, against folks that
Oh yeah.
wanted to, like I said before, to make witchcraft go silent again, or what, not to be like dramatic about it, but there's people that would probably love to bring the hanging times and the burning times back. You can you see that stuff online. There's a lot of hatred out there. So if my small out of the closet confidence gives people a feeling that, well, maybe I can do that too, or then good, because I always gathered strength from other people that were public about their beliefs as well. But again, like I said, it's a personal decision. So I totally get, there's so many people out there, especially in small towns like yours, where, what if the local sheriff is a witch? Who knows? Maybe he would lose his job. Maybe he would be in danger,
Exactly.
So,
Oh yeah. I don't really encourage people to come out if they want to. I mean, but they should if they can.
Do so wisely.
Yeah. Kind of look around, like you said, look around you and everything and see. I know living in a small town, we have 2 churches. They both came to the house, and I'm just like, I'm not interested, but I'm a witch, stuff. They're like, what? And we talk about my path as well as theirs. I'm nice to them, but it's like they stop coming around. I think after 3 times, they're like, they're not going to convert me. So, but everybody knows who we are now. And
well, that's part of our path as well as Cabots too, is to present an honest depiction of the craft doing good things in the community. And that's one of the reasons that, like with Litter Wizards or something of that nature, where like, I know, and that's one of the things I was drawn to Lori's tradition for, is because she was always very ecologically minded, and she was always very civically minded. And that's a thread that runs through her books throughout the years, is like volunteer. You see that the higher rankings you get within the tradition, it's like you have to volunteer. You have to give up more of yourself, not less of yourself. You don't become more important. You become more a servant to the community and to society. So I always thought that was a very attractive part of this tradition, and why I felt drawn to it. And so I think it's up to us to present the ones that can be public, to present be a good stewards of the tradition and good representatives of.
Because we're the future teachers. We have to pass these seeds on eventually to other people.
Well, and the town is very, it's accepting. I mean, they know who we are. Hi, Chris. Hi, Chrissy. How you doing? So even with my tattooed, I have, they don't really question it or anything. They just treat us like normal people, which is good. My playlist is playing downstairs, one of the songs. It's so ironic. They're playing
Rise of the Witches.
Rise of the Witches. I'm tongue-tied, like, what are they playing? I should know. And so it's kind of ironic that they're playing that right now. So I don't know if it's on purpose or what. My playlist might have came on. So
funny how that works.
But we've let you go. I know it's like 10 o'clock there. So
thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on.
And keep going, please. I can't wait to see the future. I want to be this 70-year-old man rocking to your music.
Hell yeah. I appreciate you guys so much. I've really enjoyed talking to you and getting to know you a little better. And just, I appreciate you being into the music and being part of what we're doing. And you seem like you really get where I'm coming from, and vice versa. So.
Oh yeah. The great thing about the goddesses is that for me, I've done this almost my whole adult life. I did it through the military. I did it when I got out. After I lost my hand, it became, the chase of the goddess became very relevant to me. And it has been rewarding. And I hope that you reap the same rewards that I have, because, 20, 30 years down the road, for me to have people come up and say, hey, you've made a difference in my life. Thank you. It is very rewarding. It is very
awesome.
rewarding. Almost brings tears to my eyes at times. But,
it does for both of us.
For your service,
For
and
us,
thank you for saying that too. I think we all contribute, and the goddess gives us each a path, and we work with the gifts that we're given, and we all come together and help each other out.
Definitely.
It definitely has been rewarding.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for being on the show tonight.
My pleasure, guys.
God bless you, and be safe, and keep playing the music, man. I love it. It's good music.
I will. Thank you. It's in my soul. So I'll be doing that until I go to the next world.
Just wait for a minute. We're going to be off the air here, but I just want to tell the audience, thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you on Tuesday where we talk about Native Americans.
Hey,
what?
You know what?
What?
We forgot to tell folks. Buy Icarus Witch albums and CDs.
There.
Yes, very good music. If you like metal, oh yeah.
IcarusWitch.com.
Yep.
That's right. Blessings, everybody.
Blessed be.
Great goddess I am, so thanking me, protecting me. I am so thankful to have you guiding me, protecting me. I am great goddess I am, so thankful to have